I'm honored to be able to introduce our next presenter, the beloved Dr. Vandana Shiva. Many of you know her well, and for those who may not, Dr. Shiva is a world-renowned environmental leader, ecologist, and activist. She trained as a physicist and, believe it or not, completed her PhD in quantum theory. Imagine that. A strong advocate for food sovereignty and seed freedom, she has campaigned internationally on issues surrounding biotechnology and genetic engineering. This commitment has led her to help movements campaigning against genetic engineering worldwide, from Africa, Asia, and Latin America to Ireland, Switzerland, and Austria. Her contributions as well to gender issues are nationally and internationally recognized. She is the recipient of more than 20 international awards. And in 1993, she received the Alternative Nobel Peace Prize, the Right Livelihood Award. Her work spans from writing more than 20 books to teaching at universities to working with peasants in rural India. She combines sharp intellectual inquiry with courageous and passionate activism. We are truly honored that she's here today. Dr. Vandana Shiva, thank you for joining us.
Thank you to Extinction Rebellion. Extinction isn't just what's taking place with 200 species, the million that are threatened. I'm speaking to you from an India today, where literally people are dying for lack of oxygen. 4,000 a day, most of them. The body is collapsing. And where did these pandemics come from? Over the last 30 years of the rule of greed, globalization it's called, I just call it the rule of greed. It's also called free trade. We stopped them in Seattle in 1999. It can be stopped again, this rule of greed. It doesn't know when to stop. It's like a cancer on the planet. It has to invade every ecosystem to create commodities, to dump the pollution. And GMO soya is being grown in the Amazon to then be dumped on us to destroy our wonderful mustard and our beautiful linseed and our beautiful pulses and our bars. Every invasion into a forest is a recipe to create diseases and epidemics. Corona now, SARS a few years ago, the swine flu before that, Ebola, HIV, Zika, the list goes on. This is an ecological pandemic. And that is how we need to address it. It is not a narrow health problem. It is a result of destabilizing the planet. And the same processes that are destroying the rights of the indigenous people, destroying the lungs and the livers of the planet. The rich biodiversity of the Amazon. I remember in the 80s when the forest movement is what we had built. I had begun my life with the Chipko movement, the Hug the Tree movement. And I began when I found a stream, just like Charles, hearing about the birds disappear. I actually watched a stream disappear. I saw a forest disappear. And I felt part of me was amputated because I'd grown up in these forests. And that's when I took a commitment to become part of this amazing movement called Chipko in the early 70s. The Chipko movement was a movement of deep resistance from a deep love. The act of resistance was hugging trees. And in a way, that is what we are being called on to do, hug the earth. That is our rebellion against the assault on the earth, the war against the earth. The same invasion into forests that is destroying biodiversity, creating pandemics, is also contributing to climate change. My studies show that about 50% of the greenhouse gas emissions come from a greed-based agriculture system based on war chemicals that came from Hitler's Germany. About 15% comes from the actual production, including use of nitrogen fertilizers, the same process that made bombs. About 18 to 20% comes from deforestation. They call it land use change. And most people didn't realize land use change meant chop the forests. Another 15 to 20% comes from taking good food and turning it into junk that then gives us chronic diseases. The plastic waste, the aluminum waste, if you do an archaeology of waste dumps, you will find that most of it is food packaging or wasted food. That's about 4%. And it's robbing us of our health. So all of the ecological problems, including the threat to human life today, is rooted in separation and superiority, the disease of anthropocentrism, the idea that humans are superior to other species. And worse, it took the crafting by the Bacons and the Descartes to declare that nature is dead. That violation of colonialism is what our basic rebellion has to be against, because the earth is very much alive. And celebrating our aliveness is the regeneration revolution. Because if something can't generate, how can you regenerate? The earth has been reduced to a deposit of raw materials to be mined. And if one runs out, shift your base. Right now, they think everyone is thinking, wow, electric cars will be a miracle. But lithium mining led to the Bolivian coup. And the Bolivians are the ones who gave us the gift of the Universal Declaration on the Rights of Mother Earth after the collapse of the Copenhagen Agreement. All the threats we face to our future and the future of other species, climate change, extinction, hunger, malnutrition, are rooted in a system that should never have existed. And having A, lived so long, and two, lived across so many cultures, I realized actually fossil fuel-free cultures are richer cultures. Chemical-free farming is better farming, produces more food, doesn't make you sick. Our work in Navdanya, the movement I started when I found the chemical companies wanting to own and patent life, we have seen that the more biodiversity you conserve, the more species you conserve, the more food you get. Food is a byproduct of love for the earth, care for the earth. Agriculture means care for the earth. And I've spent the last 4 decades trying to understand where agriculture went wrong with the Bhopal disaster and the Punjab uprisings, but also how to make agriculture resilience, agricultural resistance. 75% water destruction, 75% soil destruction, 50% climate change, and 93% species destruction, 75% health problems, all related to a bad food system. We can begin with food. We can begin by planting and growing gardens everywhere. For me, growing a garden is the highest form of resistance against a toxic anti-life system. And I would like to end with sharing. I'm a believer that to face big threats, you have to begin small and multiply it. We got freedom in India from the spinning wheel. For me, seed saving is the spinning wheel of today. And I know through my lifetime, seed by seed, community by community, farm by farm, organizing community, assembly by assembly, we can regenerate the world. The earth is waiting and inviting us to join her with her power. And that's the other arrogance, including the arrogance of a lot of environmental activists who think they carry the earth on their shoulders. No, we are one among many species, and we have to weave the web of life in non-violence and love. And I want to end with a beautiful poem of Rumi: in this earth, in this soil, in this pure field, let's not plant any seed other than seeds of compassion and love. Thank you.